to explain the Big Four and what it's all about. When we formed this group of schools back in 1980, we wanted to award excellence in high school basketball. We wanted to pick the local school that was the best in basketball. We figured the best way to do this would be to look at head-to-head competition. And if the records were tie after head-to-head competition, we were looking for a tiebreaker, and we decided to go to the Cape Atlantic League record. Only once in the history of this award have there been co-winners. That was back in 1988 when Middle Township and Wildwood Catholic were co-Big Four MVP champs. Right now you see a list of the schools of the past that have won this prestigious award. This year our Big Four award in boys basketball goes to the Middle Township Panthers, and in the girls it goes to Wildwood Warriors. And we'll be back with the award presentations and the MVPs for 1991 right after these messages. The Wildwood High School girls basketball team has won our Big Four championship, and my congratulations to Coach Dave Triano. That's a great achievement. And next to him is Teresa Polini, who won the girls MVP trophy in Big Four. First time since '88 that someone from Wildwood High has won, and congratulations, Teresa. Teresa, of course, has gotten many awards, postseason awards, and we'll get into that in a moment. But first, Coach, I guess nothing can compare to that state championship that you had in Group 1. First time in the school's history that you've ever had a girls' championship?
That's right, and that's something you always dream about, and it's something I think that every coach deserves to go through, once in their career, and it's something, I'll never forget.
I know you have goals at the beginning of the season, and I'm sure you wanted to repeat as Big Four champs. You were looking at the CAL title, but did you really have it in your sights for a state championship?
Well, I felt that we had a good chance of winning South Jersey. The biggest competition seems to come from Central Jersey, it seems every year, and this year was no exception. I thought that the Keyport team was an exceptional ball club, and we were very fortunate to have beaten them.
Mm-hmm. In fact, you've won, what, 2 other South Jersey championships in the past and lost to Hoffman both times?
That's correct, Hoffman both times.
I guess you were kind of breathing a sigh of relief that they weren't in the picture this year.
Yeah, if Hoffman would have been in there, I would have been saying to myself, here we go again. So I'm just fortunate. We're glad that, they weren't in there.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kyle pointed out to me before the interview that you really never lost a must-win situation all season long. Your record for the year was 27-4. Those 4 losses came really at a time when you didn't need the games. Absegami was not in your league. Hamilton was after you'd already clinched. What was it that made this team so tough in must-win situations?
I've said all year long that we had 5 seniors on the ball club, and with that you have a certain degree of maturity, and I think that in the must-win situations, the seniors realized, and this is it for us. We have to do it. And in the games where it didn't mean a great deal, I think the seniors said, well, yeah, we'd like to win, but we're going to save it for the big game. Mm-hmm. And I think that maturity was a big part of the whole season.
Everybody picks up the slack if somebody's down, so it's a team effort to say that.
One other thing I liked is you have a patented, you punch the air. How did that start? After a big play, you can always count on you to celebrate a little bit.
Well, I just have to get some of my excitement out. I just did that.
Tell us what the awards were that she has won. I think she made, an All-State, or second-team All-State in basketball?
Right, Teresa, numerous awards, but she was second-team All-State and first-team All-South Jersey. And she's the first Wildwood High School girl basketball player ever to achieve those honors.
Mm-hmm. And also was named Press Area Basketball Player of the Year. Quite an honor.
Yeah, so, she's, as I told her, if she ever has a year to duplicate this, I want to be around to see it, because the things that have happened to this young lady this year, including being named Homecoming Queen, it's just been an exceptional year for her.
Now, Teresa, we've watched your career also at Channel 13, and we knew that there was something special there, and it really came to the forefront this year. Only the second Wildwood girl to ever achieve 1,000 points in a season. Lisa Schultz was the other. I have to mention that. As you were a freshman trying out for the basketball team, did you think that you would ever come close to a performance like this as a senior?
I never really thought about it, seriously. And I just let things come, you know, let them happen.
You were just trying to make the team back then, right?
Yeah, trying to get a spot.
And Teresa, what was your team's reaction to the fan support from Wildwood at that championship game?
They were shocked. We didn't expect all those people to be there and chanting before our game even started. They were great.
So now you win the state championship and you're in the Super Six or whatever it is they call it, and you have a game against St. Peter's with Kristen Samoji. Was that their superstar?
Right. She's a superstar, but they had some support troops to go along with her that really hurt us in key situations.
And I know that Teresa got into foul trouble in the third quarter, and was that one of the keys to what actually transpired in that game?
Oh, I'm sure it was. You know, we sat Teresa down probably for about 5 minutes, and when she got back in the ball game, we were down 6, and we could just never recover from that.
Because just looking at the account in the paper, the score was not really that close, but you were actually ahead after 3 quarters. Is that right?
And we were up by 2 points after 3 quarters. At the end, we had to resort to fouling because they were holding the ball, and they just made their foul shots, and that's what gave them that 12-point win.
And what happened on that play, Teresa? Could you walk us through it?
The one I got my 4 fouls?
Right.
I just drove the lane and they called an offensive foul on me. And it was a horrible call.
Well, at the luncheon that we went to on Monday, that was the theme. The speaker said, you know, you're all champions, regardless of what happens in the tournament. Still, however, 5 teams have to end their season with a loss, and some people really question the value of having that. You know, not because we lost. It happened to 5 other teams, including ourselves. But you know, when you win the state championship, that's the ultimate, and it's a shame that it has to end that way.
Well, I can see why they would do that, because you would want to know how you competed against other teams in the state. Other states have competition such as that. And even within South Jersey, you finished number 4 in the Courier Post standings. I'm sure you would like to know how you would do against, say, Gloucester Catholic or an Egg Harbor Township. And how do you think you do against a team like that? There's no way to settle it other than on the court, right?
That's true. We had scrimmaged Egg Harbor Township earlier in the season, and we had done quite well against them. South Jersey, we would like to play Gloucester Catholic, and you know, the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, at the end of the season, you know, winning a state championship and being on such a high, and then for the 5 seniors to go out with a loss, you know, you hate to see that. They were in tears after the game, but they assured me that it was only because they realized this was the last time they were going to be playing together.
Well, next year you're going away to college, I understand. And what are your future plans for basketball, Teresa?
Just to do good, set goals, and you know, capitalize on them.
And what is the school that you're going to attend?
Mitchell Junior College. It's in New London, Connecticut. It's very good.
2 years there, and then you'll see what happens after that, right?
Yep.
Okay. I understand Cammie Williams from Buna went to this school, and that's part of the reason why Teresa's attending there?
Well, they have an excellent track record as far as their program there, and the coach, Dan Mara, is very instrumental in getting his players into Division I schools, and he's assured me that there's no doubt in his mind that Teresa can get a Division I scholarship in 2 years.
Well, it gives me great pleasure to award Teresa with our Big 4 MVP trophy, and congratulations. And that was well-deserved and well-earned. And also, Coach, 4 in a row. Congratulations.
You never get tired of getting these, so thank you very much.
Okay, Wildwood High coach and MVP in Big 4. And we'll be back with the boys version right after these messages. Please stay tuned. Both of our Big 4 MVP awards go to players from the same school. Here again at Wildwood High, Mike Emery receives the honor this year. Mike finished with a 21.8 points per game average in scoring. He made All Cape Atlantic League first team, All Press Area first team, and All South Jersey Group 1 first team. And Mike, congratulations on this award and this honor.
Thank you.
And we noticed a real difference in your play this year. You were truly head and shoulders above what you had done in the past, and we were just wondering what brought that about. How much hard work did you have to do to elevate your game?
Well, I just put a lot of work in the weight room and then on the basketball court, playing against good players in the summertime. And a lot of it is confidence also. You know, I worked really hard.
And how do you get that confidence? Just through playing time?
Yeah, just playing. You know, Mr. Coach Bimbo threw me into the Wolves freshman year, and I just developed from that. So.
And I imagine you're pretty proud, Coach, of your player here. And could you maybe give us some insight onto his development throughout his career?
Well, Mike started out as a fat 14-year-old freshman. He's come a long way. He's had the potential all along, and all it came down to was what he was going to do on his own. And I think you saw the result of it this year. And he'll be on to bigger and better things next year.
Now, Mike, you also achieved that plateau of scoring 1,000 points. Can you tell us where you broke the record and how that came about?
Well, I got it at Buna High School, and it was kind of a weird situation because our team wasn't playing up to par, and Coach took us out of the game, so I was getting really nervous. And in fourth quarter, with about 5 minutes left, he put us back in the game, and I scored about 10 points in a matter of 50 seconds. So it was kind of a weird situation.
I know you had to explain that because we obviously didn't cover that game on the road, but still, it's a great achievement, you know, no matter what the situation is. And I'm sure you have the ball in your trophy case at home.
Yes, I do.
You started out like gangbusters. Wildwood High, I think, was off to an 11-1 start, ranked right up there in the Courier Post, and then I guess the flu bug kind of hit. And what was the team going through in the middle of the season as you were struggling to find that level of play that you had early on?
Well, you know, beginning of the season, we came out like on fire. You know, no one was sick, everyone was healthy, everyone was getting along and everything. And, you know, we had some distractions in the middle of the season. The flu went through everybody. And, you know, after that sickness came through, we weren't back to where we were at the beginning of the season.
I know you had a couple of tough games there, and Coach, you told us before we started rolling the cameras, I think it's an interesting point, the biggest win that you felt for this team during the course of the year.
The biggest win, I think team-wise, was our Bridgeton game at home. The reason I say that, we lost by 2. That was our first loss of the year, and I was really worried about how we were going to recover from that. And we came back the next game, scored 100 points against Buna, so I knew it didn't really hurt us too badly. But I was really looking forward to the rematch here at home. Unfortunately, Mike was sick that game. But it turned out all right. We won 61-47. So, you know, I knew we had more than Mike. But I would have hated to see what happened if Mike were in that game. You know, we feel like we completely dominated that game. So, to me, that was our biggest win because you win it without your best player in there, and that's an accomplishment.
What are the things that Mike does for this team? What are his abilities out there on the court in the course of a game?
Well, for his size, he runs the court well. When we press, he has to run the court well because we put him on the ball. And once the ball comes out of the trap, he has to sprint back and get into rebounding position. He does that very well. Mike has a very quick release on offense. Mike will catch the ball, and before you blink an eye, it's in the basket. I think that's one of his attributes. Being a left-hander on the post. If you ask any coach, you know, who would you rather have on the blocks, a lefty or a righty? I think most of them will tell you a lefty. They seem to have that advantage for some reason, so he has that going for himself. Great attitude. Yeah, he has a great attitude. He's probably the most coachable kid I've ever had. And you know, when you have a coachable kid and a coach that likes to coach, you know, that's a good marriage right there.
That's a good marriage, yes. How about some of the key games in your mind in this past season? Big games, big wins for you.
I'd say some big wins were maybe in the Christmas tournament when we won. We were playing really good, and that was a good accomplishment for us. And the win over Middle was big for a rival, and the wins over Lower were big wins too.
Lower Cape May, there were some unbelievable things happening in those games. I know that you came back at Lower, and they almost came back here. What happened in that game? They were way down and almost won it. He doesn't want to answer here. Coach?
That's typical Lower Cape May Wildwood. If you remember a few years back, when I think you were a sophomore, Brendan Connors, senior year, Justin Vogel, those guys, we jumped on them at their place. We were up 24-2, 24-4, and we won the game at the buzzer. Paul Bryant tipped one in at the buzzer to win that game. So that's just a typical Wildwood Cape May game. You know, it's McGaffey, Bimbo. You know, we just love. It's great.
Great rivalries in the Big Four and the CAL. Now, what does the future hold for Mike Emery in the world of basketball?
Well, you know, right now I'm playing some all-star games and some tournaments, and we'll see what happens with that. But right now I'm looking at Philadelphia Textile, Central Connecticut, Monmouth, and Glassboro State.
Well, good luck to you in whatever your endeavors, and we're happy to present this award to you as MVP in the Big Four for 1990-91 season. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And good luck in the future.
All right, thank you.
13 Studios. And for the third year in a row, we're proud to award our Big Four boys basketball trophy to the Middle Township Panthers. With me, Coach Tommy Farraco. Welcome to the studio.
Thanks.
And Demetrius Anderson. Welcome, Meats. That's what they call you, right?
Yes.
In the Big Four, you had the same record as Wildwood, 5-1. But according to our tiebreaker, you had a better CAL record and narrowly edged them out for this trophy. Coach, interesting that when you played against Wildwood, you weren't at full strength, and they weren't at full strength. What were your thoughts on the head-to-head competition?
Well, we played them early in the year at their place, and we were without our guards, Don O'Neill and John Holden, and they beat us. In fact, they pounded us. And then 2 months later at our gym, they were without Michael Emery, who had bronchitis at the time, and we narrowly beat them. They were interesting games, but both teams weren't at full strength, so you'll never know who was the better team at full strength. I just thought that it was an interesting year for both teams. And
It's something to talk about until next basketball season, I guess.
Yeah. We didn't come up with a CAL, but 23 wins for these boys and 49 wins the past 2 seasons is something that they can be proud
Yeah, what
of.
was your record over the past 2 years?
49-10 the last 2 years.
And who was the only team to be better than that?
Only Camden High School.
That's hard. I find that hard to believe, but you said that the Courier Post told you about that.
Yeah, the Courier Post had told us about the last 5 seasons. The last 5 seasons, Camden, Middle Township, Haddonfield, Willingboro, and Atlantic City were the teams that had the best records the last 5 years. But the Courier Post always keeps you up to date on things like that, and they told me about that, which is interesting. But it's a tribute to the boys that we had this year that they won that amount of games the last 2 seasons.
And something we haven't done for a while is go on the road to follow a team. And we went up to St. Augie for that crucial game at the end of the season. And Meats, what was the attitude of the team going into that game up at St. Augie's?
We really wanted St. Augie back because they beat us at our gym, and we don't like that too much. we wanted to beat them so bad. Just they had a good night. That's all. We couldn't stop the 3-point shoot.
It was a great game, an exciting game.
Intense.
And,
I remember the
yeah.
intensity, the crowd, the involvement of the crowds, and the level of play out on the floor was just an intense night.
Were there other games during the course of the year that really stand out in your mind?
Well, I think what would stand out in the boys' mind first, Phil, would be our scrimmage schedule, because we try to upgrade the schedule. We scrimmage Camden, Lakewood, Trenton, and Woodrow Wilson. So they throwing the boys to those teams right off the bat.
I don't know if the folks at home saw your reaction to that, but how did it feel playing against that competition?
At first, I think some of our guys were nervous, but because in the first quarter, second quarter, coach, they
were.
Yeah, we were nervous.
Especially against Camden. To go up to Camden and to play that school with, they must pack 1,000 in just for the scrimmages. Just for scrimmages. It seems like the community comes out and they just want to see dunks and up and down the court kind of basketball. But I think that's what would stick out in the kids' minds initially. Then the Christmas tournament, we played a nice Christmas tournament in Cherry Hill. We played Bishop Eustace, which ended up in the top 10 in South Jersey. We played a nice Eastern team, and we played Holy Spirit High School. We also play a difficult CAL schedule, and I'm very fond of the teams in the area. I just think in our area alone, you play tough competition, and you play different kinds of basketball, from a tempo game, maybe with Wildwood Catholic, to an up and down the court game with Wildwood High School, and I think the 4 schools in the area are always big rivalries, so our kids will always remember the big 4 rivalries. Then we ended the season playing McCorston from Trenton, second ranked in the area, when we went to play them. That's when
He's smiling again over there.
Well, that's when Demetrio probably played his best game of the year, Phil. He had 19 points and 9 block shots, and they were well coached by John Castaldo. And John Castaldo, after the game, didn't go to myself or my coaches. He went right after number 22 looking for Demetrio, because he had played such a good game and he had really gained the respect of Castaldo. And then we finished up with Delsey, which was disappointing, because it's a South Jersey championship game and you'd like to advance to that same position. We would have played the same teams that we played last year, South Plainfield and Hillside, and that would have been a nice situation just to get back at Hillside. But it wasn't meant to be, and it was Delsey's season.
Any consolation in the fact that they went all the way to the state championship?
It was nice to see, and it was also nice to see them beat Clifford Scott in the Super 6, because it showed you Delsey was a lot better than people gave them credit for. I think it was our perception that Delsey played in a weak conference that hurt our chances against them also, because we had chosen to go up and down the floor with them. We wanted to play up and down the court, where we didn't play that way with McCorston because of the respect we had. If we had shown a little more respect for Delsey and Demetrius Poles, we probably would have kept the game in the 50s and the 60s, and we wouldn't have been up and down with them. Demetrius Poles is the best player in my 10 years that I've coached against, and that includes Michael Edwards, who's playing at Syracuse now, Robert Churchwell, who was playing for Gonzaga, who's at Georgetown, Matt Maloney from Haddonfield, who's now at Vanderbilt. Dan Leahy was always a tough kid for us to play against because he did so many things, but nobody compares with Poles. And I think the thing that separates him is the fact that he's an intimidator. Not just is he a 30-point, 15-rebound, 8-block shot guy, he's an intimidator in the lane also. And
well, let me ask Meets about that, because you say an intimidator, and to me that means someone who is maybe mean or aggressive, and just looking at him play out there, he appeared to be very quiet. I mean, he almost seemed to sleep at sometimes, and we said he had like a quiet 28 points, but what was it about him on the court that was intimidating, as your coach says?
Well, first of all, he intimidates people when they try to they think you got an easy left, and all of a sudden you see this big 6'8" player just throw your shot to half court or something. That's what was intimidating about him.
But as far as a person, how is he as far as you know, personality?
Oh, he seems to be quiet when he's on the floor. He's really aggressive.
Interesting, his grandparents were sitting right in front of us as we were doing the telecast, so we got another perspective on the gentleman. You brought some tape along with you, okay, about this individual, and there's some great highlights that we want you to look at, and if you're taping it, play it back at slow speed to really appreciate what you're going to see. What is so special about some of the things this gentleman has done?
Well, Phil, in my 10 years, again, I have never had a kid get follow-up dunks like Demetrio, and I don't think our area has had too many boys do this.
Now, what's a follow-up dunk?
A dunk is a follow-up dunk is when the ball comes off the backboard on a shot by your team. He'll, without bringing it to the floor, he'll catch it in the air and throw it back through the hoop. And it's probably the most exciting play on our level because it's just rare. And if you see these things, and like you say, put it in slow motion and just appreciate where he comes from and what he does while he's in the air, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. And he does so many other things. Demetrio shot blocked for us. He was the best shot blocker that I've ever had, and he was also a monster on the boards, and he also triggered our press. He did so many things for us. He made all South Jersey Group 2 second team and all CAO second team. But sometimes those first team, second teams, they like to see those points put on the board, and he didn't put the points on the board that some of the other fellows who did, like Walter Hurd is a 28-point scorer, but when you look at his shot blocking, what he did for our pressure, what he did for us on the boards, and just his presence in the lane in our league, I don't think there was more of an intimidating presence in our lane, and that's